a very difficult situation for those tornado warnings because they're so obscured by rain.
Yeah, here's another tornado warning up in Republic County that is about ready to move into Nebraska. It seems also on this one that the rotation has weakened a bit with this storm.
All right, we've got somebody on the phone now from Nebraska. Todd Natula joins us now on the phone. You have some reports of storm damage, and where are you in Nebraska?
I'm in Kearney, Nebraska right now, but the storm damage I witnessed was in Roseland, Nebraska.
All right, and can you tell us a little bit about the damage that you saw in the area?
Yeah, Roseland's a small community here in central Nebraska of about 200 people. Pretty extensive damage in the town. A lot of homes damaged in that community. Irrigation pivots, which are common in this area, down trees. Quite a bit of damage in that small community.
And any idea on how many people live in this community? What kind? Is it a farming community?
Yeah, this is a small central Nebraska town, definitely agricultural related. A lot of people there, involved with agriculture. About 200 people is the population, so just a very small town, kind of a dot on the map here in the middle of Nebraska.
And when we see the dot there on the screen, and when we look at some of those pictures, was anybody injured?
The reports of injuries are still kind of coming in. It sounds like no major injuries, just some minor injuries that we saw on the scene once we got there. So thankfully, no major injuries reported at this point.
Looked like a metal grain bin down there in the picture that you've been looking at, and other structural building damage behind that I can't tell.
All right, well, Todd Natula, we thank you so much for joining us, and Dr. Forbes and I will be back after the break to continue to track more dangerous storms out there.
Hey, Hunter, need some pointers?
Just around the house.
Yeah, should do it then.
I love this free store pickup.
Yeah, it's also great when you're on tour. Just order online, we'll have it waiting for you the same day. I bet there's an Ace within a golf swing at just about anywhere.
Really?
Oh, you don't need to...
New mailboxes.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Getting help at Ace is like going to your neighbor.
Drive safely, Hunter.
Thanks again, Mike.
Getting help at Ace is like going to your neighbor.
Even after careers like ours, we're still going strong.
What's your secret, Richard?
Blue Emu Super Strength Cream.
It gets down deep to soothe my muscles and joints.
And it's odor-free. It works fast.
And you won't stink.
This is amazing.
I love this car.
Real people are discovering surprising things at Chevy.
This is a road trip car.
We're sold. It's so pretty.
They're good-looking cars. It feels great.
Perfect. This is not what I would expect from a Chevy at all.
Get more than you expect for less than you imagined at the Chevy Memorial Day sale going on now. Get cash back for 15% of the MSRP on select 2015 models in stock the longest. That's over $4,000 on this Chevy Equinox. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
What's with the sash?
Oh, I'm a Blast Scout.
What are all these for?
Yeah, they're all for different things. This one's for eating a blast.
Oh, cool.
This one's for getting someone to buy me a blast.
What's that one for?
That one's covering up a hole.
Tons of surprising Master Blast flavor combos you're sure to love. This is how you sonic.
New Flonase Allergy Relief Nasal Spray outperforms a leading allergy pill. Most allergy pills only control one substance. Flonase controls 6. So go ahead, inhale life. New Flonase. 6 is greater than 1. This changes everything.
This is a moisture meter. And these few drops are like an oasis to a colony of termites. To catch a pest, you have to think like a pest. Not just in any home, in your home.
If you've been wishing for something amazing, Cricket Wireless has got it. The new Samsung Galaxy S6 for $0 down on a phone payment plan and will cover your initial loan payment of $19.99. Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
Life changes. A small business's life is no different. That's why Constant Contact email marketing is built to evolve with your business, month to month, year to year. So whether it's an email to reach new fans and customers, or a quick and easy way to announce a big sale, Constant Contact's email marketing and free expert coaching are all you'll need, no matter how much things change. Help your small business do more business. Try email marketing free at ConstantContact.com.
in a matter of seconds, your life can change.
The Weather Channel's most watched original program is back.
Things were just going everywhere. And then it was silent.
This was it.
This is just the beginning of what's to come.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 68. Thursday, mainly clear. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 85. Thursday night, thunderstorms early. Low 70. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
All you got to do is show us something that's amazing out there. We love to see your pictures. Every picture you share, we'll try to share it as well right here on AMHQ.
You're looking at it right now, Mike. I've got debris lifting out toward me, past me now. On 36, we've got a lot of tree damage. I've got debris.
You were looking at video from earlier today. This was a chaser out on Channel 4 KFOR in Oklahoma City who was actually in that tornado as it worked through. Let's listen more.
Coming to the ground right now. This is it. Folks, you got to be ready for it. Mike's getting big. I got trees coming down on me in power flashes. I got to back out of here. I'm just to the north of Rock Creek. And on 36 here in West Norman, got a lot of power flashes going toward the I-35 corridor now, over toward the airport on the north side of Max Westheimer. And it is a
wow, scary situation for those folks. And the Oklahoma City metro area continues to deal with tornado warnings, flash flood warnings. Right now, we are reporting golf ball hail and power flashes east of Tuttle. We have seen an 82-mile-per-hour wind gust around the Tuttle area. So out of this tornado-warned storm, there's another warning now closer to the Moore, Oklahoma area. So plenty of areas to watch, and not just in Oklahoma City, but we've got tornado warnings into Texas, up into Kansas, and over the state line into Nebraska as well. And Dr. Forbes, it's Oklahoma City, really all eyes on them.
Yeah, it really is. And some of these storms that are down in Texas, you can see the direction that they're heading, and so they could head back into the area that's already flash flood warned in the Oklahoma City, Norman metro area. So that could mean heavy rain in rounds overnight. Flooding ultimately could become a real big threat there. Still, we have a big swirling mass now of storms around the Oklahoma City metro area with 2 tornado warnings in parts of that swirl.
And reports of over 4 inches of rain at OKC through the day today. And so you mentioned when this rain rolls in, that's just going to add more to those problems. But there's a look at those Oklahoma City warnings. We're going to take a closer look into these because, you know, Moore has been a city that we've been saying a few times today. They're under the warning. There's that storm near Tuttle where we saw the strong wind gusts.
Yeah, look how this has turned into one whole big swirl now with little embedded rotations in here, embedded rotations in there. And so the strongest of the rotations has been this one we've been following with the KFOR copter. We've been seeing the rotation, or at least the low wall cloud that's been coming in with that. So Grady and McLean counties, you have a tornado warning for that. This one is Doppler indicated, but there has been a report of an 82-mile-per-hour measured east wind along with half-dollar size hail 4 miles east of Tuttle. So this storm is producing not necessarily a tornado, but this big rotating wind field with that big wall cloud and that big rotating column of rain that we've been following.
And we talk about winds gusting 70, 80 miles an hour. I mean, that's going to cause damage to mobile homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those
knock down trees onto power lines, knock out the power, take off shingles, gutters, do EF0 type damage.
Exactly. All right. So this this is where this storm is going. 8:47 to Newcastle, Clothier at 9:12, and you know, Newcastle has been an area that we were talking about earlier today as well. Bridge Creek saw damage at this point. That storm now moving off to the east of them.
Yeah, and look at the south edge of this swath, and that wind area could come all the way down to the south edge of that swath. That gets into the area of Norman. This area right in here is where the previous wind. So this is going to affect that same area again, it seems.
Right, and if not, the tornado circulation by that point, the very heavy rain with this. Again, now we look up towards the Moore area, and we can kind of see that area that's under the warning there. So this is an area that, again, was under a warning earlier. Now, again, if you're on I-240, that's going to be a spot you need to get off. Perhaps they'll limit travel. Yeah,
a little bit of a broad circulation that is wrapped around in this area as well, with pretty subtle spiraling, but there's a big broad spiral here. So there's two of them, one in this part, and there you see it in the velocities, the reds and greens wrapping around, and then you see another, you've seen the other down to the southwest that we just showed you. So again, coming up to this area now, south and east of Valley Brook, toward the I-244 intersection of 77H, the possibility of a tornado. If not tornado, certainly in this corridor, there could be a pretty strong corridor of damaging winds.
But yeah, I mean, a very difficult scenario when you look at the radar, almost like a master's class in trying to identify these areas, because it's not those traditional hooks on a supercell that we're seeing in this area.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And I think mainly what we're seeing here is going to be damage over a several mile wide area in these storms, with possible brief tornadoes that will touch down from that.
And you think, again, it's going to be the winds from that general circulation rather than you know, a long lasting tornado.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. We're probably not getting long lasting tornadoes in general from this, but there was another report of a tornado. I'm not sure how long ago this was, of tornado 5 miles west of US 81 in Pocasset. So we've been having continued occasional reports coming in. That may have been a bit earlier.
All right, we want to talk to somebody, Dr. Forbes, who has been at the airport there in Oklahoma City, and we were talking about those folks being evacuated not once but twice, or at least moved to safer shelter. Dwayne Simpson joins us now on the phone. And Dwayne, can you tell us a little bit about when your flight was supposed to take off and what you had to do while you were at the airport?
Sure, I was on a 5:50 flight. At about 5:30, they took everybody down to the tunnel underneath the road between the airport and the parking garage. We stayed down there until the first storm had cleared. We went back up and went through security again, and we're waiting on our flights. And then the second set of storms came through, and so they put us back down in the tunnel. And now there's actually water in the tunnel too, so you know we can't really see much what's going on out there, but we are starting to see some water seeping into the tunnel. We've been here, probably about 3 to 4 hours now.
Yeah, I mean, heavy rain has been a huge issue, but, you know, interesting that it's actually made it into those areas where you're seeking shelter. Now, as far as the flight goes, do they have to go out and, you know, recheck the planes and make sure everything is okay with those?
You know, I don't know. My flight had been diverted, so my plane never made it into Oklahoma City, but, you know, they've certainly had all the flights when they had us go through security and come back up. All of them were significantly delayed, even the ones that were here. I don't think any of them took off during the break, but they were trying to recheck people and make sure that, you know, with very long security line, as you can imagine, that they were able to get back through security and get to their flight if they were able to take off.
And this is something we've heard about happening before, so I would imagine the airport officials, the employees there are able to you know, move everybody quickly.
Yeah, they've actually been very good about, you know, they've got announcements, and the TSA and the airlines and everybody, they work together, and you know, everybody moves calmly, and you know, everybody seems to be in pretty good spirits, and nobody's, you know, no panic or rushing or running or anything. So,
all right,
it seems to be working well.
Yeah, I mean, again, they've had the preparation for it, so it looks like they've got a good system in place. Dwayne Simpson, I hope you're able to get to where you need to be at some point. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Forbes, I know you and Sarah have been talking about another storm you want to take a look at.
Yeah, we want to jump up to Lincoln, Nebraska. There's a bow echo there that has a pretty strongly rotating head way up here in the northeast corner of our total severe weather threat there. Tornado warning around the Lincoln area. We're talking about the tornado warning for Lancaster County. And Sarah, if you could give me Gibson Ridge 18, what we'll see there is the broad rotation. Here's that rotating head area. And there is a pretty strong rotation that shows up in that. Right in here, it is just in the area that is just a couple miles west of Lincoln. So that's going to head across from Lincoln up into the Davie, the Waverly area. And this could ultimately head toward the Omaha area. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on this one. Omaha area is...
Yeah, it was right up there. If you headed a little further up to the north and east.
North and east here, so that we'll continue. There's Omaha, so it's headed that way. We'll continue to keep an eye on this and the other storms as well.
Yeah, plenty of action out there all the way from Nebraska down into Texas, so stay with us. We're going to give you a look at your local on the 8th, and we'll also leave you with a look at rain in Newcastle, Oklahoma.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees under fair skies. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. Low 68. Thursday, mainly clear. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 85. Thursday night, thunderstorms early. Low 70. Chance of rain 40%. Here's our 7-day outlook.
With it, and it will be one with you. Be one with your tires, and the road will be one with you. Hankook Tires.
I've got plans, and this is my baby right now. So it's just not the right time to get pregnant. That's why I chose Skyla. Skyla is the small, flexible IUD that prevents pregnancy for up to 3 years. So for me, there are no daily pills or monthly refills. I got my Skyla placed in just a few minutes at my OBGYN's office. And if I want to try to get pregnant, I can get it removed whenever I want.
If you have a pelvic infection, get infections easily, or have certain cancers, don't use Skyla. Less than 1% of users get a serious infection called PID. If you have persistent pelvic or stomach pain, or if Skyla comes out, tell your doctor. Skyla may attach or go through the uterus and cause other problems. Pregnancy while using Skyla is uncommon, but can be life-threatening and may result in loss of pregnancy or fertility. Ovarian cysts may occur, but usually disappear. Bleeding and spotting may increase in the first 3 to 6 months and remain irregular. Periods over time usually become shorter, lighter, or may stop. Skyla does not protect against HIV or STDs.
Talk to your OBGYN about making the move to Skyla.
Check with your insurance to find out if you can get Skyla at no cost.
What makes Lay's Kitchen different from the rest? We pride ourselves on bold, authentic flavors with the finest ingredients.
The satisfying crunch and rich flavors of Lay's kettle-cooked chips. One taste and you're in love.
Today's the day. More and more people with type 2 diabetes are learning about long-acting Levemir.
As my diabetes changed, it got harder to control my blood sugar. Today, I'm asking about Levemir.
Levemir is an injectable insulin that can give you blood sugar control for up to 24 hours. And Levemir helps lower your A1C. Levemir lasts 42 days without refrigeration. That's 50% longer than Lantus, which lasts 28 days. Levemir comes in FlexTouch, the latest in insulin pen technology from Novo Nordisk.
Levemir is a long-acting insulin used to control high blood sugar in adults and children with diabetes and is not recommended to treat diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not use Levemir if you are allergic to any of its ingredients. The most common side effect is low blood sugar, which may cause symptoms such as sweating, shakiness, confusion, and headache. Severe low blood sugar can be serious and life-threatening. Ask your doctor about alcohol use, operating machinery, or driving. Other possible side effects include injection site reactions. Tell your doctor about all medicines you take and all of your medical conditions. Check your blood sugar. Your insulin dose should not be changed without asking your doctor. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing, sweating, extreme drowsiness, swelling of your face, tongue, or throat, dizziness, or confusion.
Today's the day to ask about Levemir FlexTouch. Covered by most health insurance and Medicare plans.
Every inch, every minute, every second, we chip away at finding inspiration to reimagine luxury, making the colors of earth and sunset skies into rich interior accents, or putting the beauty of a forest in the palm of your hands. It will take you to another place, wherever you happen to be. Made with pride, crafted with passion. This is the 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It is the best of what we're made of.
We are back with a look at damage from earlier in Roseland, Nebraska. Looks like perhaps Dr. Forbes said maybe a farm silo.
There's a big metal silo that's down, and then other farm buildings that look like they're damaged.
Yeah, now, this isn't the only game in town in Nebraska. Unfortunately, we've got some action working towards the Lincoln area. Also, maybe eventually Omaha, where a tornado warning is effect to the southwest. So not for Omaha, but near Lincoln.
Yeah, we have all the way from Omaha, Nebraska, down to southwest Texas with severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. We're going to start, I believe, with the look at the storm that's up around Lincoln, Nebraska, and it's ultimately heading its way toward Omaha. It isn't one of these supercells like we've been seeing farther to the south. It's instead a bow echo that has, it's like a comma, the punctuation mark. It has a rotating comma head on that has some rotation there west of the Lincoln area. So that would be heading off toward the north and east. We're talking about a tornado warning for Lancaster County around and just west of Lincoln and the Yankee Hill area, heading off to the north and east. So Waverly about 9:08, the Ashland area about 9:45 with that particular possible tornado circulation. There also ought to point out that this storm pattern with this backward C gets that way because there's probably some strong wind. So even if there's no tornado in that swath that Sarah's drawn for us, there's probably going to be some damaging wind gusts.
Right, along with that heavy rainfall, there's a look at the reflectivity or the velocities, which would show us the change in direction. And this is the radar where you kind of put that arc in, where you would maybe seeing those winds push out.
Yeah, here's the high definition radar. So you can see all of this green. The Omaha radar is up to the north and east. So we're getting strong winds surging. They don't look extremely strong. I'll go to the storm relative velocity mode, and that sometimes tells us where there would be a tornado. So a possible tornado circulation right about there. That's north and west of Lincoln, heading up toward the Davie and Waverly areas.
But you mentioned closer to the Lincoln area. That's where we might be seeing just some strong winds that are still capable
coming across the area,
taking down tree limbs or perhaps trees.
Yeah, now down south of Wichita Falls, we've had, well, we're going to stop in.
Change. We have a very strong circulation here near the Oklahoma City area. Matt Crowther's just showing us. Look at this, 105 gate-to-gate shear.
Holy smokes.
The Weather Service is saying northwest of Valley Brook.
Holy smokes, just in 5 minutes, we've gone from nothing there to an extremely intense circulation. You can see that blue, the southeast flow, the yellows, the northwest bound flow, right around the Valley Brook, just the north side of Valley Brook, very close to I-35 with the very intense circulation. Now, 105 knot shear, the difference between the west and east flow, crossroads circulation, really intense coming across northwest and I-35.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, like you said 5 minutes ago when we were looking at this, was not looking nearly as impressive.
No.
So, I mean, travel along I-35, right where that rotation is. I mean, if you know anybody, if you were thinking of heading out, I mean, don't do it at this point. I would imagine probably, hopefully, traffic is stopped out ahead or below that.
Yeah, this is going to be coming across Eastern Avenue, east of I-35, and then up toward Sunny Lane Road, just to the south of Del City at the direction. Oh, my goodness, it's gotten a little debris ball there, right where the circulation is. Oh, and now it has a debris signature. Definitely a tornado in progress just to the north of Valley Brook, crossing I-35. And heading eastbound. This is a dangerous situation, heading toward Eastern Avenue, north of Southeast 59th Street, and probably about, I would say about 45th Street or something like that, 40th Street, in that vicinity. A dangerous storm there north of Valley Brook. and it's going to head its way toward around the Southeast 29th Street and South Sooner Road there. Dangerous situation that has evolved extremely rapidly. This is the strongest circulation that this storm complex has had all day, and it's often the area northeast of the storm that we've been mostly following with the wall cloud on it. This is kind of a surprise location.
Little innocuous area that really developed that strong circulation. And, you know, for folks at home that were wondering how you would maybe know that there was a tornado in progress, when we look at that correlation coefficient, we're picking up things that are not debris, and that's that blue.
We're having reports of power lines across the interstate, numerous overturned vehicles, tornado on the ground southwest of 44 and I-35. So this point right here.
Yep.
Yeah, the ham radio is reporting that I-35 and Southwest 44. Power lines across the interstate, overturned vehicles, numerous overturned vehicles. So just where we were saying,
it did catch
right where we're seeing that rotation, right where we're seeing the debris signature, right where we're seeing the debris ball, there's definitely a tornado in progress. There it is heading toward, there's the 44th Street. So just southwest of there, it's heading toward 44th Street and Southeastern Avenue. Will likely angle its way up toward Southeast 38th Street and in around the South Bryant Avenue. A dangerous storm. It may, in fact, turn more due east and come due east there along 44th Street and heading east along that road, that street.
And we've got a chaser on I-35 working through the area, this southwest of Oklahoma City, or perhaps southeast, I think, southeast of Oklahoma City. But, I mean, when we look at just the way that circulation just developed within a few minutes.
It's almost looping around back to the west, as Matt was just pointing out.
Yeah, if we watch this, it kind of turns back.
Yeah, the whole storm is looping around here, but the chaser, I believe, is not close to this particular location. Well, I'm not sure. That could be. It could be. I take that back. Southwest Oklahoma City. This is close to that area. So the chaser, I hope he's not driving blindly into this tornado that has gotten itself very, very intense in the area just to the northwest. The Valley Brook tornado has been confirmed with damage crossing I-35 near 44th Street, Southwest 44th Street. Dangerous storm, likely to be heading almost due east, heading toward the Sooner Road there in that vicinity of somewhere probably 44th Street, maybe 40th Street, something in that vicinity.
Yeah, and you know, now Channel 4, our affiliate in Oklahoma City, they are saying that cars are also overturned. So we got that report out of the National Weather Service chat. The local affiliates are also confirming that. But, you know, not necessarily a surprise, not what we want to see. But when you have a quick circulation develop and then work right over that highway, where I would imagine on a Wednesday evening around 8 o'clock, you know, maybe people are heading home for the night, heading out for dinner, and unfortunately catching some of those drivers off guard, perhaps.
Yeah, and this, I've just been looking at the high definition radar. This, it does not look like it's moving very much. Either, Sarah, if you could back up in time what you're showing us right now, or go to Gibson Ridge. Go back to the last frame, and I'll draw for the viewers where the circulation is now. So right in about here, but then watch how slowly this is moving. Now back it up, Sarah. There you can see it right there. It weakened, you know, and there it wasn't there. So just in 5 or 15 minutes there, we've gone from nothing to having a circulation. There you go, forward, and then it's not going straight east. In fact, it's just almost stationary over I-35 there. So again, very difficult to predict where these tornadoes are going to go today, but we do know that there's a tornado in progress very close to, maybe still sitting over I-35 in the area around 44th Street. Dangerous, a particular storm.
Yeah, and I guess KFOR has people on the ground that have said vehicles are just completely flipped over. Perhaps they were driving on Interstate 35, they encountered this, and were just overturned.
Yeah, indeed. Now looking at the return there that shows the precipitation. 5 minutes ago, we saw a debris ball right there where that debris overturning was, vehicle overturning was taking place. We're not seeing that now at this point. We've lost that. So we may have at least stopped producing debris. There it was. Go back one time step, Sarah. On this, and if you can, there's the debris ball right as it comes across I-35. Now go to the current one. and you don't see that dark red anymore. It has disappeared. But still, that said, we still have debris signature. Look how wide the debris signature is. This is, we're able to see this by tumbling debris that's been tossed in the air, and the dual pole radar scans alternately horizontally and vertically. So tumbling debris doesn't look the same from one pulse to the next, or even one pulse to the next. And so it gets that low correlation coefficient that shows up in this form as blue. Now here, that was just the raw velocity. So it is, sometimes the debris gets centrifuged out, and it gets to be wider than the tornado itself, and that could be the case here. Big wind pattern, though, that suggests big wide wind pattern coming here from the southeast here to the southwest, with still possibly a tornado near the southeast 44th Street and I-35 area, maybe having even moved a little bit toward the north and west of I-35 and still pretty close to the southeast 44th Street area.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the fact that it's staying stationary, hopefully, or that it may have turned a little further to the west, hopefully doesn't catch more people off guard, because you would think in a more typical situation, you would think, okay, well, it's going to head out, I can go travel this way.
Well, what makes you worry again is that if it is now made a loop from 35 and turned northwest bound, is it going to loop all the way around and come back across I-35 eastbound again?
Right.
Is this the current one, Sarah?
Yes.
So they're very tight circulation now right over I-35. It's still very intense rotation around the I-35 and southeast 44th area with the tornado that we know has caused debris, has caused damage, and still as debris tossed in the air could be falling out of the sky, even if it's not producing current damage. That is, we have debris now all the way from east of I-35 on southeast Eastern Avenue, all the way over almost to the way to Shields Boulevard, showing up there in this area just on the north side of Valley Brook and south of Oklahoma City.
So as you mentioned, some small debris could be going the span of a few blocks from that tornado that maybe picked up some debris right over Interstate 35. And you mentioned this thing is really not moving much. I mean, over the last few scans, we've seen it kind of just hanging out over 35.
Or if it's moving kind of unpredictably. It may be taking a bit of a loop back to the west, or just looping in almost in place, in or very close to, within a couple of blocks of I-35 there, up near southeast 44th Street.
This is the latest scans, maybe broadening a little bit.
Yeah, it is weakened a little bit.
They had a measured gust of 76 miles per hour, 5 south of Mustang. That was with this storm. Let me find out where that was. Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. That was back to the west a good bit. That's a while
ago, yeah. But we're also beginning to see some signs that this storm, that there may be trying to be another rotation center a little bit farther east, out along the edge of the gust front on the east side of Valley Brook. Not as well defined as the one that we have just been talking about, but we've been talking about a circulation that has still broadened a little bit, but over in this area there's some other circulations over in here that are kind of along the broad, there's a broad flow that is surging eastward there. Along the leading edge of that, we're getting some additional circulations over near the vicinity of 59th Street and just north of I-240 there, west of 77H, or its northward extension.
So if you are just joining us, we are watching this storm, this tornado warning south and southwest of Oklahoma City. Part of the metro area has been under some kind of warning now for the past few hours. This for Cleveland and Oklahoma counties, and we watched this circulation fire up right over the Valley Brook area, right over Interstate 35, and we are getting reports of cars flipped over, and we've seen signs, Dr. Forbes, that there is debris, so that we do think there was at least a tornado on the ground picking up debris.
Yeah, absolutely. We've lost now in this latest scan some of that debris signature, but I was going to point out, all through here, this is all rain. It's wrapped in rain, and so we're getting continued pummeling of the area by rain that's adding to the flood threat. So now there's a flood warning for the Canadian River at Purcell, Oklahoma. This whole area is under a flash flood warning. We've had, in 1 hour earlier, we had 3 inches of rain at the Oklahoma City airport. So flooding continues to be a big problem while we get these, what now appears to be a very, very intense spin-up of a tornado, but we continue to get at least brief tornado spin-ups across this area. Now here, look at the 6-hour rainfall over 7 inches of rain now estimated here in the area north of Blanchard. And that's southwest of Moore. So they're up near the Moore area. This whole Lavender area is more than 4 inches of rain in the past 6 hours. So we've filled up the area, and now getting runoff or just piling up. All the underpasses are likely to be getting filled up with water, and all those storms that are down in Texas are still heading this way up to the northeast, steered by those upper level winds. So the rain could go all night tonight, on and off in this area into tomorrow morning, giving really a very, very, very serious flood threat for this Moore-Norman area.
Absolutely. You know, we talk about how we were fortunate to not see these long track tornadoes. We like seeing these ones that are, you know, brief or spin-ups. We hate seeing the damage, but you know, we've avoided, at least for the most part, the really dangerous tornadoes. But as you pointed out, you know, flash flooding causes more deaths. You know, we get folks, especially when the sun goes down, it's dark, they drive into those flooded waters, they can't figure out how deep it is, you can't get a good gauge on how deep it is, and it does not take much water to cause big problems.
Yeah, and in this case, there'll be two types of threats. The ones where people drive into the flooded roadways, that is the majority of the flood deaths, but we could also have some communities, some housing developments that are close to some of these streams that are rising very rapidly. So people may need to be evacuating for some of those, hopefully in the process not driving into any flooded roadways. We've had reports of power poles down on Southeast 44 between Bryant Street and I-35. So in addition to the vehicles on I-35, some of the adjacent residential areas are at least having some power poles down. So damaging storm seems up in the area north of Valley Brook, southwest of Del City, the south side of the Oklahoma City area. Seems like the circulation that developed very rapidly in a matter of less than 15 minutes, now in the last 10 or 15 minutes has weakened again, but not before it did some damage up in the area on the north side of Valley Brook along I-35.
Absolutely, and you know, so the Oklahoma City, just one of the areas that we are watching this evening. You know, they've been hit hard over the past few hours with storms, but we've also seen some tornado warnings into parts of Kansas, into parts of Nebraska, and into Texas. We take you down near the Wichita Falls area, where we've got a tornado warned storm around Archer County that has now been moving off towards at least the north of Archer City.
Yeah, you can see the well-defined hook there. It's been evolving multiple hooks like some of the other storms that we've seen today.
All right. We were going to take you back to KFOR TV because they were getting some video of those flipped over cars. So if you just noticed that on the screen, that was not out of this warning into North Texas. That was the Oklahoma City area where we think that storm, that spin up, occurred right over Interstate 35, flipped over some of those cars as those folks were driving on that highway. And now our affiliate KFOR TV has gotten to the scene to actually see these flipped over cars, some of the other debris that perhaps we were picking up earlier.
Yeah, we'll come back to that if we get something on that feed. Meanwhile, Sarah, there in the lower right, you can see some of at least one flooded roadway. So flooding is a problem. These quick spin-ups, probably the most recent one there on I-35, just north of Valley Brook, south of Oklahoma City, has probably been the strongest of the spin-ups on this particular storm we've seen since maybe in the 3 to 4 o'clock Eastern time, 2 to 3 o'clock Central time frame. We'll take a look at some additional storms while we're seeing if we get some additional video in. Haskell and Throckmorton counties farther down to the southwest in Texas with a tornado warning. Earlier we had a storm that was even farther down to the southwest that had a tornado warning in Texas. It no longer is tornado warned, but way down into the areas southwest and west of San Angelo. Sarah, if we could, let's go back up into the Omaha, Lincoln, Nebraska area and see what's happening up in that area. Because we did have tornado warnings up in there. That was the storm that was farthest northeast in our. We've lost the tornado warning now in that area, but still a bow echo. It's had a reported funnel cloud around Pleasantdale in Lancaster County. Still a bow echo. It's around the Ceresco area now, heading its way up toward the Omaha area. You can see the backward sea. There had been a tornado warning for that little comma head, rotating comma head part of this bow echo. Might be some 50-mile-per-hour winds coming toward the Omaha area over the course of the next hour or so. You'll need to keep an eye on that. We do have tornado watches that go all the way from parts of Texas up into the Lincoln, Nebraska area. And we do have still a couple of tornado warnings. There's the tornado watch. We do have still some tornado warnings up there in northeast parts of Kansas, meaning that the watches, of course, mean that conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes. Warnings mean that the tornado threat is imminent. It's either been sighted or indicated on Doppler radar. And so those warnings cover much smaller areas.
And we even had a tornado emergency earlier for some areas where you've got a tornado on the ground and they consider it to be an especially dangerous situation.
Several of those communities south and west of the Omaha and Norman area.
Yeah, and here's another look at the scene from KFOR TV, and the rain is just coming down in Oklahoma City, something that you've been concerned about through the day. We've got it now, the heavy rain. You've already seen heavy rain in excess of 4 inches in plenty of spots across the metro area. So this person driving through the area that is going to add to the flooding concerns, the flooding problems for this part of Oklahoma. I mean, we've seen plenty of pictures already of flooded roadways. Now that it is dark in the area, it's going to be very difficult to pick up that flooded roadway until maybe it's too late. So make sure you are driving slowly, carefully, because you could encounter plenty of flooded roadways. And if you do, just turn around, find an alternate route, because you do not want to be finding yourself at night driving through a flooded roadway and discovering too late that it's much deeper than you anticipated.
And some of those tornado warnings that we just showed you down in Texas, south of Wichita Falls and near Haskell, Texas, those are storms that are generally heading back up toward this central Oklahoma area that's 5 or 6 hours away. But if those hold together, you could get yet several more bursts of heavy rain during the nighttime hours. So a dangerous situation.
And that could be really troublesome for Oklahoma City. Now, the reporter, or somebody from KFOR TV, was getting to the scene along Interstate 35, where earlier we were picking up that debris, where we likely saw the cars overturned. Let's listen into this chaser cam. You can hear that heavy rain and perhaps hail hitting the windshield.
We're seeing, we've got a report now. We've been showing you some radar estimates of the rainfall at the Oklahoma City airport. We've had a measured 5.7 inches of rain today. So, and we've been getting similar amounts over a big area, several counties wide. So that's why we have flash flood warnings and even a river flood warning now that are in effect for parts of the Oklahoma City metro area and adjacent areas. A
very dangerous situation for these folks that are going to be maybe getting up in the morning and trying to go to work, especially before sunrise. It's going to be a really treacherous commute. I mean, look at these 6-hour rainfall rates, and you've said really anywhere in this pink,
anywhere in that purple lavender area is above 4 inches, with some places there getting 7 inches. So some good news for the moment, at least. The warnings had been tornado warnings in the Oklahoma City metro area. They have now severe thunderstorm warnings. So for the moment, we've lost the rotations, at least any rotations that look like they're tornadoes, but still a wind damage threat, definitely a flood damage threat. There's been a report of a measured 76-mile-per-hour wind gust south of Mustang in Grady County about 17 minutes ago.
Oh, and Dr. Forbes, here is some of that live damage across the highway. This is I-35. You can see police on the scene. Let's listen into Channel 4.
And there's somebody who's, hold on a second. What's the matter? Your roof's going up and down. You got 2 kids inside? You can't get them out? Water's pouring in this lady's room. We're trying to get them out and take them up front to the front office. I bet she's making her way around there. She's panicking out here, as well as can be expected. But she has 2 kids that are in the room. But there is, I guess, the ceiling or whatever she's had.
You are looking at, this is live on the air at KFOR TV out of Oklahoma City. They've got folks out there on I-35 where we have reports of overturned cars, perhaps trucks, and a motel was hit by this storm.
And if I could understand what they were saying correctly, not only is there structural damage here, but there's also water that is pouring into the motel, so that they're concerned about flooding there. I believe they were trying to get someone out because of water that was coming into the motel.
tell you what, while Kevin's doing that, let's go to Max 2. Let's go to Max 2.
City Metro, he says they've never really done that before.
Okay.
So this is a series.
So similar to a tornado emergency, when we think this is a imminent and very serious threat, it's a flash flood emergency.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah was just pointing out to us the National Weather Service is adding a flash flood emergency wording to that previous flash flood warning, and they've never done that before for the metro area. So this is a very, very serious situation. Only going to get worse. It's going to go all night.
Yeah, this is the second wettest May day on record for Oklahoma City with 5.7 inches. The #1 all-time wettest May day, over 6.64 inches.
Well, and unfortunately, we still have 3 hours to go in the day there, and it doesn't look like the rain is done. There's another storm that is out near the area just to the west of Tuttle and Yukon that looks like it's going to come its way across Oklahoma City, and there's still lots of rain coming across the Norman area as well so it's not just a very localized thing. It's a county or two wide area that's getting the heavy rain today.
Yeah, and we look at the 6-hour rainfall rates again. We're talking over 5, over 6, even over 7 inches estimated in spots. Now, on the right-hand side of your screen, you are looking at live video coming out of the Oklahoma City area. That KFOR TV feed just showing the heavy rain continuing as they have been driving around the I-35 area where there was a report of cars overturned, that motel damage. And then we've got Oklahoma City on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and we've seen some lightning flashes. So still storms in the area. Although the good news is at this point we've got a severe thunderstorm warning, but no tornado warnings active in effect for the Oklahoma City metro area. Here's that flash flood warning for Canadian, Grady, and McLean counties, and this includes Oklahoma City. And Sarah, I believe this is the one where they've added the wording. Yes, so they've added the flash flood emergency wording, which means this is a very serious, a very dangerous situation, similar to what they do when there's a tornado emergency. I mean, we've seen plenty of instances and examples already of flash flooding across the Oklahoma City metro area, and with more rain coming down heavily, we do anticipate more problems to occur. So, stay where you are. Be alert, know where you are. If you live near any kind of waterway, a creek, a stream, make sure you are kind of monitoring the situation, because this could be a very dangerous evening and overnight for those folks.
And the Weather Service is pointing out, for people that were in the area November 8th, 2011, that this may be a situation like that, comparable to that, or even worse than that. So if you were flooded in that situation, you may again have some flooding here.
And as you mentioned, I mean, they're saying that people in homes might see waters rise up to the front door. So this could be more of an issue than just some flooded roadways. Here's a look at some of that additional damage on I-35 from that earlier tornado around the valley. All right, let's listen in.
Facility, and what's your best guess on the location of that storage facility, if that's what it is? It has obviously sustained severe damage.
This is what's right here. It's along the service road just south of Southeast 44th. Let me zoom in and get an exact street for you here. Hold on just a second. I can zoom in.
Exact location of that high-end F2, which might have been an F3 that you saw develop live. We're showing it to you actually live. And at one point, it was close to a mile wide. Kevin Josephie's at ground zero where that was. And that was about 35, 40 minutes ago now. That tornado has lifted. Kevin Josephie.
Yeah, Mike, I just zoomed in on my GPS here, and what it said that was here was American Self-Storage. That is now gone. No, everyone's belongings are just thrown everywhere out here. It's completely flattened. But the rain it's still just pouring down, flooding, and is that up over the curb right there? I think we're in water that is up over the curbs right now on what street are we on here? We're on Southeast 48th Place is where we're at right now. Near the Roadrunner RV Park, which is that's actually on the west side of the highway. We're on the east side of the highway, but definitely some significant damage out here, Mike. It's just very hard to tell exactly where things are at or what they used to be, being that it's night. So that's why I'm having to use GPS to look in and see if it has any businesses listed, so I can tell you exactly what's been damaged or not been damaged.
And Kevin, that damaged path is not necessarily narrow and small. I mean, it has some width to it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot of width. I mean, it's, God, I mean, as far as I can see out here, with the light, I'm guessing at least 100, 150 yards, if not 200, from what I can see here at night. Now, if it was during the day, it might be a little larger, might be a little wider, but from what I can see, it's at least, 150 to 200 yards wide of a damage path in this area. I'm actually going to back up, kind of get out of here because water's rising where we're at on this little road, and I'm not going to get stuck down there. It's kind of almost up to your covering up the bottom of your wheels, maybe like almost to your hubcaps, but definitely topping the curbs out here, Mike.
Okay, Kevin, appreciate that.
Now we're in a little more shallower area because it dips down back there, so it gets a little deeper in the water. We're going to back out of that and stay safe.
You've been listening to live coverage from KFOR TV at Oklahoma City. You're hearing the voice of Mike Morgan, their chief meteorologist, as well as their reporter on the scene, saying a storage unit destroyed, and now people's belongings are everywhere.
Yeah, this was that very quick spin up of a tornado that we saw with very intense rotation just north of Valley Brook along I-35 and Highway 44 area, just south of the Oklahoma City area, where we had vehicles overturned and poles down, as well as the damage that you heard him talking about. Now, flooding is becoming a big issue in that area.
And I mean, we're watching the rain come down. That reporter that was out on the scene said it appears that water is up over the curb in that area. I mean, at this point, we've seen the saturated roadways. The ground is saturated. The water has nowhere to go, and it continues to accumulate. So we are watching water over streets. We are watching water getting into buildings. We even talked to that person at the airport who said the pedestrian bridge that they were evacuated to during one of those storms, as it rolled through, that even had water in it. So rain was getting into that.
It looks like the heaviest rain at that particular location will probably end in about 15 minutes, but then there may be some light rain for another half hour or so, but then there could be another burst of heavy rain. There's a storm back near Union City that will head back into this area. So it's going to be an on and off heavy rain, burst of heavy rain all night, it looks like, for the Oklahoma City metro area, including Norman.
Yeah, and you mentioned back into Texas, there are more storms that are eventually going to be heading that way. So once this batch ends, we're not done with the rain over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Not at all. There is a storm that's not too far to the southwest of Wichita Falls that has tornado warned. We're getting new tornado warnings up in Kansas and Nebraska as storms continue rolling across this whole area from south and west of the Omaha area down all the way across parts of Kansas and into Oklahoma and all the way down into southwest parts of Texas. In this outbreak, last count, we were getting pretty close to 40 tornado reports. We don't know how many exact tornadoes that is, but quite a lot today. Some that have caused some damage, some that seem to have been brief, fortunately, in open areas. So it's far from done tonight. Additional tornado warnings keep rolling in now, just getting one for Kansas, in Kansas for Washington County.
I mean, these were areas that you identified going into today as areas with a high torcon value, and that's the way it's panned out. So we're going to continue our coverage. Keith Carson's going to be here with you, Dr. Forbes, to continue this coverage. I mean,
yeah, we got Alex Wall standing by in the studio, blown up race, trying to go through all of this, so we're going to keep that going with you.
It has been a very busy evening.
Yes.
So we'll continue. Again, 39 reports coming in, 37 tornadoes, 2 funnel clouds.
And flooding becoming a huge, huge story for us.
Thank you,
now.
Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Stage right. Thank you, Alex. All right, so yeah, at this point, flooding being a big concern for us as well.
Yeah, it really is, and we've had radar estimates of over 7 inches of rain in the Oklahoma City metro area, and certainly far from done, even from the storm complex that's over them right now, and more complexes that are yet to come. They're the big cluster of storms that are down in the area around Wichita Falls, and even some up around Altus, Oklahoma, that are going to roll in. So. Even after this cluster stops raining, and hopefully it will, later on tonight there could be more rain coming in. So a big problem. The first time they've issued a flash flood emergency for the Oklahoma City metro area. They had some very heavy flooding on the evening after the El Reno tornado a few years back, after we had that killer tornado. Again, it's a situation where prolonged storms have developed and given what has gone from a tornado threat into a flash flood threat.
And we're not done with the tornado threat either.
No,
but,
not at all.
Talk to people about, a little bit about what do you think this flooding threat is about? Is it that they're back building, they're training over the same spot, or are these storms moving slowly? Combination of all of that?
Well, I think in this case it was a situation where the first storm that went through laid out a boundary, and the other storms are then following along that.
Sure.
The overall picture is that we sort of have a dry line that is back in here, and that now is firing up some of the storms in Texas that are being steered by the upper level winds, and they'll be coming back into the Oklahoma City metro area. So it's been a combination of large scale pattern, but for the Oklahoma City metro, they've had a small scale, or what we call a mesoscale, a storm scale generated problem that has perpetuated itself for the it began at 2 o'clock Central Time and now goes until past 9 o'clock Central Time. We're still getting storms within this 2 or 3 county area.
Well, that's what strikes me is looking at it when I was still home. I'm looking at the radar thinking, okay, it's going down towards Oklahoma City, more area. And here we are now, and there's still storms over the same area. The rotation, that meso we had earlier, obviously really strong rotation, not seeing that over the city right now.
What it looks to me is that the storm complex has now put out a bit of an overall boundary. We've seen that rain and those rain shafts all day long. And now some of the warm air from the south and southwest, well, at least it's coming in from the south, and then it's steered a little bit aloft from the southwest, is running up over top of that boundary like it's a small scale front. And you see it, look at building a new whole arc of heavy rain here. So we could just get round after round of that comes back into the metro area because of that small scale boundary that the storms have built for themselves.
All right, we just want to remind the viewers, by the way, what you're seeing in the bottom left is a live picture. They're trying to get out to that tornado that we saw, what, 20 minutes ago or so, 25 minutes ago?
Something like that, a half hour maybe?
Yeah, okay, right along the highway there, though. So that's K4, our affiliate out there, giving you the latest pictures. And they basically stopped at the moment, I believe, because there was so much water they didn't want to drive through it, which, of course, is a smart thing. We tell people to do that, and it's good to follow your own practices when you're out there, too.
Well, and also when we were zoomed in on it, there was a lot of debris that was across the road there also, so that that has prevented some of the travel across there as well.
Just trying to get an idea of what kind of damage is there. And they pointed out earlier, too, it's always hard when you arrive at seeing that early, that quickly. You don't know what these structures used to be unless you're very familiar with the area locally.
Well, we've heard reports from talking to these people of a storage facility that was pretty much leveled. We also saw what looked to be an apartment complex or maybe a motel that had some damage to that. We've had poles down. We've had vehicles overturned, and so there seems to be quite a bit of damage in that area around I-35, generally near the southeast 44th Street, but probably extending a little bit either and all sides away from that.
Well, do we have any idea, and maybe Sarah would know this as well, what our flash flood situation was there? Were we really dry ahead of this? I mean, you get 7 inches, it's not going to matter too much. But
I'm not sure about that, what the antecedent, the values were, but they had an initial burst of 3 inches in an hour, and that will basically saturate everything.
No matter
and
what.
So, and so it's become whatever the guidance was to start with. It's now any rain.
It doesn't really matter.
Any
at
rain
that
is
point.
causing additional flood woes.
Sure. Are there any other systems that, as far as we had a couple out of the tornado warnings? Was this the #1 thing that we're watching at the moment?
Well, I think at this point, if we could, Sarah, if we could go down to the Texas the storms that are down in Texas that have some tornado warnings on them. And then we'll probably try to go up. There's a number of new warnings in Kansas and Nebraska that we haven't covered. Particularly wanted to go to this one, though. This is the southwesternmost of the tornado warned storms around Throckmorton. So you see how well the hook echo wraps around in here, but it too is closing off a little bit of that warm inflow notch area. So it may choke itself off, but right now, tornado threat there in the area just to the west of Throckmorton, and it's working its way east generally toward the Throckmorton area. So it's a bit of a broad rotation that's showing up in here, a lot like what we've seen today, but we'll continue to keep an eye on this particular storm. It has some big hail in there. There could be 1 inch to golf ball size hail heading toward the area as well. So this is going to come toward the Throckmorton area. Sarah's building us a timeline on that for generally about 9:50 p.m. If we could slide then off toward the north, these storms that are closer to Wichita Falls, look at the last frame there. The hail threat has even gone up a little bit more in the returns on the radar. Here is the hail that's coming up across the area. I believe that's probably going to be a suggestion of at least aloft inside the clouds of about 3 inches. That would probably mean 2 inches, maybe 2 1/4 inches coming down at the ground as a typical value. up into the area to the north of this. The storms are getting closer to Wichita Falls, Texas. They seem to be losing a little bit of their structure. In particular, interesting little line that's formed way out on the southeast edge, but that's not where the tornado threat would be. Tornado threat would be here off to the north of Archer City, and you can still see right in there is a tornado vortex signature in that. That is heading off toward the east-northeast toward Henrietta, but if it takes a little bit of a left turn like some of these storms would do, that could get us, some of these storms I should say have done today, that could get it a little bit closer to Wichita Falls. That said, it's not moving too fast. Let me see here. Take a look off to my left. You see what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a high-definition radar to see what spotters confirmed a tornado with this. So it has a reported tornado with this. I'm not getting the details on the exact location of that, but it's in the area that's south of Holiday, west of the Scotland area, north of Archer City. It has some pretty strong rotation showing up in the storm at that location.
There. Yeah, it's interesting. This just anecdotally I've noticed from the storms today. Some of the most classic-looking hook echoes have actually developed just either broad rotation or little spin-ups.
Yes.
And then some of these ones that don't look like much on the base reflectivity, this is what we're looking at here, are producing the tornadoes.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. It has been sort of a perplexing day in terms of the storm structures and probably the strongest, maybe one of the strongest tornadoes of the day, just suddenly